If we talk about the rise of the power of the East India Company in India, the most instrumental roles were played by the three presidency towns of Madras, Bombay, and Calcutta. Now, it is very interesting to know that why they were called presidency towns. In each of these places, there was a fort. This fort and the adjoining territory, they were ruled by one officer called president, and that is why these three they were called as the presidencies. The first presidency that was established was Madras. In 1639, the British got the permission from the ruler of Chandragiri to establish the settlement at Madras. At this stage, the ruler of Chandragiri was Venkataraya. And Venkataraya was basically a ruler of Vijayanagar. Again, it is very interesting to know that the great Vijayanagar Empire started declining after the Battle of Talikota. Then the rulers of Vijayanagar, they shifted the political center to Penukonda and from there to Chandragiri. The rulers of Chandragiri, they gave the permission to British to establish the settlement at Madras. Very soon the British, they created a powerful fort there that was called Fort St. George. अब याद रखेंगे, the first big fort that was constructed by British in India, it was Fort St. George in Madras. And the first president of this fort was Francis Day. Again, before Madras, the most important settlement for the British in South was Masulipatnam. But once Madras came up, Madras replaced Masulipatnam as the main center of the British in South. Again, if we talk about Bombay, it is very interesting to find out that in 1662, there was a matrimonial alliance between the British Crown Charles II and the Portuguese Princess Catherine. Now, when this matrimonial alliance was there between the royal families, the British that time demanded Bombay from the Portuguese. And that time nobody bothered about Bombay, so the Portuguese easily gave Bombay to the British. Later, in 1668, Bombay was transferred from the British Crown to the East India Company. This is how the company got Bombay. Very soon, the company created a powerful fortified settlement there. The fort there was called Bombay Castle. Bombay Castle. Now, the first president of this fort was Gajanan. Again, it is very interesting to find out that earlier in West, the main settlement of the British, it was in Surat. But the trouble was that Surat was constantly getting attacked by the Marathas, and that is why the British were compelled to shift all their operations from Surat to Bombay. And from that time onward, Bombay became the main center for the British in western part of India. At the same time, the actual rise of the company in India started from the eastern part, Bengal. And now, if you talk about the most important settlement of the British, it would be there in Calcutta. How this came up, it is very interesting to find out that in 1698, the British got the zamindaris of the three places called Kalikata, Gobinpur, and Sutnauti. Very soon, they started creating a settlement there that was called as Calcutta, named after Kalikata. Very soon, they also created a fortified settlement there. So by 1700 and 1702, by that time period, they had already created the fortified settlement that was called Fort William. Now, the settlement here was called Calcutta, named after Kalikata, and the fort was called Fort William. The first president of Fort William was Charles Eyre. Again in East, earlier the most important settlement for the British, it was Hooghly. But when the fortified settlement of Calcutta in the form of Fort William came, the British shifted all their operations to Calcutta, and from that time onward, Calcutta replaced Hooghly as the main settlement of the British in East.